we can understand each other.
What's up? What up, Alex? Thanks for the resub, baby.
Woohoo! My voice cracked. How are you? How was your week?
Pretty
Tell me
good. Pretty
everything.
good. Pretty shitty for allergies, but pretty good. How was your week? What'd you do? Anything cool?
My cousin turned 21, so I held a little birthday party
Oh,
for her. Only like two of her friends came. Well, I only wanted two. I was like, listen,
that sounds like a
we're not gonna
21-year-old.
we're not gonna have Project X, but like you guys can come over and drink, you know? But it was pretty good. No one threw up. Everyone had a good time. Everyone had a designated driver, so
I don't know
pretty
if
sweet.
anyone ever really wants to have a Project X party. I feel like
Yeah,
parties are so
yeah.
overrated, and as soon as you have people, that many people, obviously not like Project X, but like a huge party, I would say more than 10 people, it's immediately stressful.
Yeah, I would say too, like if it's your house, it's gonna get dirty as like I would be having an anxiety attack if
Dude,
that many people were at my house. I'd be like, what the fuck,
I
you
remember
know?
one time, the only time we had like so many people in my house, like you couldn't like walk through it without bumping into everybody.
That sounds
I
like
don't,
a
no, it
nightmare.
wasn't nightmare. It wasn't supposed to be that way. It just like someone was
So
like,
many people just
"Hey,
started showing up. It was a
yeah,
friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah." It was like out
Oh
of
my
nowhere.
god.
People were like, you know how my like house sits in the alley. People were like just
Yeah.
blocking the alleys, parking in the alley because the parking lot. It
I
was
will say
insane,
like out of the
stressful.
house parties I've went to, like I've definitely you had the house party, John. You know, it's so funny because like I feel like I didn't have the house party, it was you. But
I
it
took one
was
for the
fun.
team.
I don't know if you still have parties over there, but you
I
know,
haven't in a while.
yeah.
Not since COVID, really.
Yeah.
Probably one
Well,
since
I guess it
COVID.
was really your wife's best
Yeah.
friends though. I guess I really it was the same people, but you told me it gets chaotic like that. I've never probably had more than 5 people at a time at my house, to be honest.
Yeah, that's been like since COVID. Probably no more than 5, but that's
Yeah.
still way too many.
You're like, "Hold on."
Too many people in one room. I gotta get out of here.
Yes. Oh, we also have to say, we're not allowed to say the R word, but what are we allowed to say, John?
We're gonna use grape instead of the
Okay, cause
word.
yes, because we're gonna say
It's. I mean, we
grape a
could also
lot.
say sexual assault. That's also allowed, I think. But
Sexual assault.
we'll just
Just
say
so
that. That's
we're
way better than
clear.
grape, actually. Now that I think about it,
Sexual assault.
we say grape or sexual
I think
assault.
yeah, because if okay, yeah, because grape sounds
There's
kind
a
of like
there's a moment in this story where we're gonna have to say grape instead of sexual assault because it just has to be.
it is what it
It's
is,
his
and
name.
that's what it's yes,
Um,
and it's terrible. But like he's literally that's what he did.
there's
You
also
know,
moments where you might hear us refer to someone as hymen positive. There's other words
because
you
we
can't say.
can't. Yeah,
You get the gist.
it's yeah. This story, I feel like most of the things that we're gonna do is gonna be like trigger warning, but this story is like trigger warning. You know what I mean?
For
So
real.
like just putting that out there too. It's gonna get disgusting.
Um, so we can start the story back in August 27th, 1964, where a young man named Paul Bernardo is born in a city in Scarborough, Toronto. Well, sorry, Scarborough is a district inside of the city of Toronto. Um, he is not having a great early life. He's abused a lot by his father. In 1975, Kenneth Bernardo, which is his father, is charged with child molestation because he was caught sexually abusing his daughter. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Before I keep going, this story awful. It just goes downhill from here.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm saying.
buckle
Like,
in.
if you can't handle that, then I don't know
This is
what to
like
tell you,
probably
man.
the
Like, I'm
darkest one
drinking
yet.
wine right now because it's just gonna get gross.
I might cry. Um. Anyway, so he gets caught molesting his daughter. Gets charged with it. His mother at this point, like, obviously this is awful. She starts withdrawing from her life and gets starts being secluded in her own basement of their family home.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. I also saw that his dad was a peeping Tom. I've only seen that in one other place.
I
So
did not see that,
yeah, and that the
but I
mom
makes
was
sense with other things he's doing, so doesn't
yeah,
surprise me. Uh,
right.
as a teenager, Paul was known to be a happy kid. He was like super polite, well mannered. He did well in school. Behind the scenes, he was developing these sick, dark sexual fantasies and got really into humiliating women.
Yeah, like a lot of his attacks that I'm sure you'll go into detail, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know about, but like he, would rub their face in the dirt, just like anything he could do to degrade them, he was like all in.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if I saw a kid doing this when he was that age, I would just assume it was a teenager being a teenager because they're just fucking awful always. Not every one of them, but most of them, especially the dudes. Dude, teenagers are just the awful. If I see a group of teenagers, I'm walking the other direction. I'm switching
Yeah, there's
sidewalks.
never a
Fuck
good
that.
time. Yeah, they're either gonna roast you or, like, try to rob you.
Dude, they're the
There's no in
worst.
between.
Um, when Paul is 16, he gets told by his mother that he's actually not his father's son, and he was conceived
Mhm.
during an affair. Paul is like awfully disgusted by this, and he goes on to openly insult his mother from then on out,
Yeah, I also
bringing it up
read
at
that
family events and such.
the
Yeah.
dad knew about the affair, I guess, and didn't really care, and I guess the
Oh, I didn't
whole,
know that.
like, "Your dad's not your real dad," like, it came out during an argument that they were having, and then the
Mm,
mom just, like, rushed in the room and was like, "Just so you know, type of shit." So, that's kind of like a fucked up way to
that is
find
so
that
fucked
out
up.
too, you know?
I mean, this guy is fucked up, but he's definitely a
He is,
product
but he has,
of
like, no
his
yeah, like, I
upbringing.
don't know. Yeah.
I mean, he does some heinous stuff going forward, but like he had some heinous stuff done to him at the
He
beginning.
did.
Not
That's
that
true,
what he did was okay, but
100%. But I'm just saying a lot of people had a lot of bad beginnings and they don't do
right,
half of the shit that
right.
this guy does, you know? But yeah.
Um, in '82, Paul goes off to college at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. He works at a marketing company called Amway, which I this is a company I've heard of, but I couldn't tell you what they did until now. Um,
Oh, did you look it up or
yeah. Well,
uh
it's a marketing company. They do a lot of like if you have let's say you want to be a motivational speaker and you want to get your tapes out there, you would make your tape, you would send it to Amway. Obviously there's money switching
mhm.
hands the whole time, and they would distribute it and promote it and stuff.
Okay.
Speaking
So
of
it's like
that,
yeah.
Paul got obsessed with motivational speakers and getting rich quick and famous. He
Mhm.
bought like hella VHS tapes from Amway, which is crazy that I mean VHS tape might have to say what that is. Um,
Do you have a VHS player still?
okay, so we bought one
Mhm.
when I lived here, but Caitlin didn't live here yet, my wife, and she had it in her possession, and it's since been lost. But we
Really?
had
That is
one.
it's funny because me and Mason, when we moved in, I have one. I mean, I didn't steal Caitlin's,
You
but
son of a bitch.
I know. No, I have like a lot of Goosebumps VHSs and shit
Mm.
still.
Now I have no VHSs. I wish like my
Mhm.
mom went through and like literally threw them all away, which sucks.
That
Um,
does suck,
she was
and it's
like,
crazy when you
"It's
like
what a time to be
sorry.
alive. We don't need this anymore. Chuck them all out."
Yeah, exactly.
That sucks, but
It's like
that's
one
what
thing
it
when you
is.
throw away and you're like, "I don't need this anymore," and then you're like, "Fuck, I wish I woulda
Yeah.
kept that."
What sucks is I was like when I was a little kid, I was super obsessed with recording like any TV show during the day during school time that
Mhm.
I wanted to watch. I would set it up so it would record to I had a bunch of tapes that I would record over. So I had like a bunch of footage of just like 8 hours worth of TV that I had recorded. I
Do
wish
you
I
guys
had
have,
those. That would be
like,
so
TiVo?
awesome.
Like, you were kind
It
of
was like a home TiVo. Yeah, it was before TiVo was a
yeah.
thing, but you could just set your VHS up to record all day. Dude, I would have
You could have
so
been
many
famous
hours.
if
I
you, like,
know that would have been
Shark Tank
sick.
that first, you
Instant
would have done
nostalgia.
it.
Oh yeah, that too. I mean, I didn't come up with that, but I'm not that smart. It's too much credit.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you should got in there.
um. Anyway, so yeah, he's Paul's obsessed with getting rich and famous, and buys hella VHS tapes about that. Which, sorry, again, I didn't explain that what that was. It's like a giant cassette. Reference something even older.
I gotcha.
Before DVDs, you had these big black bricks you put in this big black brick, and it'd play music. I mean, it'd play movies and music
That's the way
maybe.
to describe
Shit,
it, though. You're not wrong, I guess.
I didn't think about this before I started saying it. Okay, it's out. Um, Paul and his friends would often practice picking up women at bars in Toronto, and I guess were fairly successful in it. In 1987, Paul graduates college and he gets a job as a junior accountant. His last relationship at this time ended with her threatening to call the police after Paul had abused her sexually.
Mm.
Paul, upset that the girls he's hooking up with don't share the same sick fantasies, decides to stop dating. And in May of 1987, he sexually assaults two women and then goes on to do another one in July. And
Do
then,
we Is he got
Right.
his name by now? I'm
He has
sorry.
not, sorry.
Okay, cool. Just making
Which is
sure.
the only part I think I will have to use grape instead of the word or sexually assault.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
in October of the same year, Paul meets Karla at a convention. I think for a pet store. I think she works at a pet store, and she goes to a.
Yeah, she did work. She does
You're
work at a
fine.
pet store.
Yeah. Okay. He in '87 they meet. They share some dark sexual fantasies. They hook up, and it's like Bonnie and Clyde from then on out. But
Yeah,
if you want to go
gross.
back a little bit before they get into their crazy, awful life together, Karla is born in May 4th, 1970, in
Mhm.
Port Credit, Ontario, Canada. Her name's Karla Homolka. She has got a weird
Yeah.
last name. I love saying it, but I fuck it up 9 out of 10 times.
I spelt it wrong like
Oh,
30
me too.
times.
I cannot
I'm
figure
like, you
out
know what? There's an O, there's
where's
an
this L
M.
go.
Yes.
I keep wanting to say Homolka.
Yeah. I think that's
Homolka.
probably how I spelt it a couple
Yeah.
times. I was like, we're going with it. It's fine.
uh, Carla's father is a Czech immigrant working as a traveling salesman. He's a drunk, and he often abuses Carla's mother. And Carla was usually left to comfort her two siblings while her mom was getting abused by her dad. Um, Carla's severely asthmatic and needed to be hospitalized several times growing up, which she was punished for by her father, evidently. Um, in
Oh,
the
wow.
1980s, 10 years after she was born, she's like in her teens. Carla enjoys drawing. She loves animals. She's even working part time at a pet shop in her teens. She was a bright student. People say she was bossy though. Despite her love for animals, she once threw a friend's hamster out a window where it fell to its death, I guess. Which,
Glad you talk about that because I listened to a podcast that was said that story like it skimmed
yeah,
through it just like
that's
you just did, and I was
that
like, "What?"
that's exactly how
Like
it was written in the article I read about her. Like it was
they
just like,
also
oh yeah,
said
she loves animals. She's a bright young girl. You know, maybe she's a little bossy. She also killed her
she
friend's
may have killed
hamster.
her hamster. No big deal. No, they like said that the hamster didn't die right away also in the podcast.
Oh,
I
I did not
like
know that.
so I they also they read a book, so it was like really detailed, I feel like,
Yeah,
but I guess the hamster did not die right away, so
that is a red flag.
there's that. It's all red flags. Nothing but red.
um, have you ever heard of the Hardy Boys?
Yeah, like wrestling.
Okay, no,
Oh.
not those Hardy Boys.
Am I close? Is it?
I don't know. Okay, I'm not that big into wrestling. I feel like
Man,
I is Ed
what?
Hardy a person? That is that a
Yeah.
thing?
Oh, wait, no, the pants.
The pants? Hardy pants?
Ed Hardy, isn't
Oh,
that like
Ed
a whole,
Hardy.
like,
Is he a
little
wrestler? I thought he did pants
you remember the people that used to wear the
and shirts
skulls
and
on
tattoos
the
and stuff.
shirts and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was
I
thinking of, and, like, the
okay.
bedazzled jeans, that's what I
Okay. Well, yeah, the Hardy Boys, they're known to dress just like that. They also investigate mysteries.
okay, well,
um, it's like a I
I need
think
to Google something.
it's like a series of books where they investigate
Yeah,
mysteries.
I just pulled that up, and now I feel
It's
weird
okay.
saying that,
Hey,
but isn't it a wrestle Listen, what brothers are
Ed,
wrestling? I need to know.
no, I
Hardy
think
Boys! I was right,
I think
but
you're
it has a
right.
Z at the end.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Thank God.
No,
I was like, "Listen, man,
I was sure you were right. It was just not the same Hardy Boys I
I
was
had to
referring
make
to.
sure because I was like, I know some wrestling. Come on."
I should have said Nancy Drew because she's into both of those series. um, she develops what some say was an obsession with crime. In
Some would
1982,
say.
by the way. So I don't not sure if I said that or not. Um,
They're
and
also
she's
in the
12.
oops, sorry. The podcast I
Yeah, I
listen
love
to,
this.
I don't know if you're gonna know, but they were making jokes calling her like I guess she was almost like an edge lord. You know what I mean? Like, and
Uh,
especially in high school where she
yeah,
would, yeah, I guess she said stuff for shock value. Like that was
right,
like her,
yep.
like the craziest shit.
Um, so she's really into wrestling. She loves mysteries. She's obsessed with crime. She gets really into scaring her friends. She starts getting into
Oh
really edgy
no.
stuff like the occult, and she would
Oh shit.
even start doing seances. And in high school, she would call herself a nonconformist. Um, she was like getting super into boys. She dated this guy named Doug. I don't have Doug's last name or if he was even mentioned in the article I read, but she admitted to experimenting with drugs and having sex with Doug.
I feel like you're telling me so much gossip right now about this girl. I didn't even
This
read this
fucking
much
bitch.
about her. Like
Okay.
you're like, listen about this shit.
I
She
went to her
does this.
house. Okay.
She does this.
She's
Yeah.
wearing fucking Jinko jeans
The way
and
you're
she's
saying it's
watching
awesome. I'm
wrestling.
like, oh
She's reading
shit,
Nancy
really?
Drew
Oh shit.
and
I
she
know. I
asked me if
kind of
I want to
liked her
do a
at first. Now
seance.
I'm like, hold up.
I wish I could see a picture right now of Karla like doing a seance with Nancy Drew on one side and then the Hardy Boys from wrestling on the other side.
Yes.
And they're
What
conjuring
a
the
group.
spirit of Ed Hardy. Um, Karla is like super in high school. Sorry, Karla is like into fantasizing about situations related to death, and she even gets into cutting herself. Um, and then in 1987, Karla. Oh, and she is 17 when she meets Paul Bernardo. By the way, so she's fresh out of high school, and she's going to a convention in Toronto for her job at a pet store, and she meets Paul Bernardo, and she's into like this crazy sex things. She's like super edgy, and that falls right in line with the things that Paul Bernardo is kind of into. I would say that's a little more than edgy, but
Yeah. Well,
they hit it off,
and
and
as
I
you
don't know
do.
why, but it kept reiterating that they had sex the first time they
Yes,
met.
for
I don't
like
know
3
why.
hours.
Okay, well I
Did
didn't get
it
that, but
specify oh, shit. I got one where it was like, "It was this
well,
long. It was this
I
crazy."
didn't know that, but it did say they had sex for the first time they met, a
Yes.
bunch of
That was
times.
very clear.
So they
Super clear.
fucking um they fall head over heels for each other. Paul starts getting control over Karla and her life, and he decides things like how she's dressing, what she eats, and even her beliefs. And Karla's okay with this because she was an edgelord at the time. Um,
Yeah, there was a documentary that I watched and it showed a picture before they met, like I think at that convention.
yeah,
And and then to now and she had like brown hair and it was short and then when she like started getting with Paul, everything was straight. She had blonde hair, her bangs were even sticking up, she got super thin. So she like completely transformed, I feel
yeah.
like.
Um, he abused her sexually, mentally, and verbally as well. But she was actually into it, apparently. She even made a list of
Yeah.
things that Paul wanted her to improve about herself. Um,
Uh, I did hear her be called like she's a classic example of hybristophilia, which is an individual who is sexually aroused by a partner's violent sexual behavior.
that makes a lot of sense. I don't think I
So there's
saw that, but that does answer a lot of questions.
yeah, like she liked that.
Uh, Despite his relationship with Karla, Paul continued to sexually assault women at this time. Um, and it comes to light around this time that Karla wasn't hymen positive when they met and they had sex for the first time, and this really upsets Paul.
Yeah,
Um, and then we're gonna fast forward about a year to 1988 in March, and this is when Paul becomes infamous as the Scarborough Grapist. You can assume what that title was supposed to be. Um,
yes.
Due to the number of women he had assaulted, a task force at this time was even put together to catch him. But due
Yeah.
to the police incompetence, Paul was just allowed to keep doing it.
That's
Um,
the worst too, cause like the cops really fucked up
yeah,
this
I
whole
feel like
thing. Like, I'm sorry to call them out, but
yeah,
they did a lot of
I
shit.
feel like every story we've done so far
Hmm.
is just cops not doing their job right or just doing some
Yeah,
fucking
for real
stupid shit.
though.
Although, I
Like
mean,
I
I don't know all the
yeah.
circumstances. I guess there's probably a lot of tips coming in, and that's what happened. But
Well, like
still, though,
someone
it's just
described him perfectly and they had a
oh
sketch
yeah,
done and they didn't release it for like 2
yeah,
years. And
um,
oh, I did want to point out too,
yeah.
like his youngest victim was 14. And like
Yikes,
we're talking about this guy like raped people with knives and shit like that. Like he is violent.
not a cool dude. Not very cash
Mm-mm.
money. Um, Karla finds out about the assaults and she doesn't really care. She
Yeah,
starts,
she's into it.
yeah, she's into it. She starts being present for them. She even films them for Paul.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Jesus.
they
Yeah, I
they
believe
have
that though. I
hella
don't even know why
tapes.
I'm surprised
Actually,
though.
the tapes are even a big part of this in one of the
Oh
other
yeah,
assaults later on.
the
Um,
documentary I watched was called like The Ken and Barbie Killer, The Lost Tapes,
you know,
something.
I think I've seen. I think I so a long time
That's
ago, I heard about
yeah.
these two people, and I think I
Yeah,
may have watched that documentary because it was
that's
definitely
the
the Ken and
documentary
the
I first
Barbie and
watched
Ken
too.
killers or whatever you said.
Yeah, that's what they're called.
So
That's, like, their other name, but I have a whole section about the tapes too, I'm sure you do too,
yeah.
but
Um. So that was 1988. That's when they say that this is the Scarborough Rapist. This is what he looks like. Whatever. In 1990, the police released the sketch of Paul, and it's a pretty good sketch. And they get flooded with tips. Among those tips were Paul's friends and family, and
should we
even
pull up
girlfriends.
the sketch and then pull up a picture of him?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if it's gonna
yeah.
if it's gonna,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know
yeah. Oh,
if it's shit up, but
awkward. Uh, Paul
but
Bernardo sketch side by side.
yeah, and the girls he was going after were also very small. Like,
Also,
he
this
always
is like one of
did a
the.
certain
Sorry, let me cut
type.
you
No,
off.
you're good. No, you're good. Oh,
Oh, bye. See you later.
sorry.
Guess we're done.
My bad.
Um.
Bye.
Also, this is like one of the best police sketches I've ever seen. Somehow.
Yeah. And I do too, like, I don't think, I mean, I know you guys are understanding how bad he is, but he would also make the girls tell him that, like, they loved him, and he would rip out their hair or pubic hair. And he always
Awkward.
took their ID away and always threatened them.
So
And
this.
also, this guy was he was never wearing a mask. He was, like,
Yeah.
fully never try to
Yeah.
cover his face.
This is Paul Bernardo. The sketch. Sorry, this is the sketch. It
Yeah.
looks like an old picture, which this is like from the 80s and 90s. So obviously, this is not what that
Mhm.
would look like if it was a picture. But this is the sketch. Crazy good. Um, and then this somewhere, yeah, there you go. This is a picture of Paul Bernardo and Karla.
Like,
But
it's not
can I do?
terribly full.
Hold on.
Also, I've noticed she has the worst dead eyes ever. Like, there's nothing
It's
inside.
pretty close for a sketch. It is so
Like,
much
it's
detail
not the
too.
worst sketch I've ever seen
It's
ev
like he
the
wanted you to know what he
eyes
looks like. The women
the
he was
eyes
doing it
for
to.
sure.
So yeah, the eyes for sure. Pretty close
Yeah.
sketch.
Yes.
Um, and what is going on now?
They released the sketch. I think that
Yeah,
was last.
gets the sketch. His friends, his family, even girlfriends call in and tell him that that looks like Paul.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
police
yeah.
never get to these tips. By the way, there's too many tips coming in apparently. Um,
Too many tips where they just can't get one.
yeah.
Like,
Paul quits his. They've had a sketch. That just seems crazy.
No, I know, 'cause, like, a lot of things were dated wrong too. Like, there was a whole thing about it. They were
Yeah,
just a mess,
and we'll get
honestly.
to it later. They actually got really close to getting Paul, and then they just
Mhm.
dropped the ball.
They had a crush on him, like, low, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, they were like, "There's no way this guy can do it. He's
yeah,
too good looking." Like,
it's
what?
crazy. Um, Paul quits his job around this time, 1990s. He starts making money smuggling cigarettes across the U.S. Canada border.
Oh, yeah.
Canada. Um,
No, but I love the fact that he did just smuggle cigarettes. Like,
yeah,
that was like
that
he's
seems.
like,
I
I
don't
read
know
2
the logistics of this, but like, how do you make a living doing this? How much?
yeah,
How?
I have no freaking idea, but I guess he was like an accountant before he started
Yeah.
smuggling cigarette, which is
So
so
he can crunch
weird.
numbers. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Paul starts becoming obsessed with Tammy Homolka, who is Carla's 15-year-old sister. He
Yeah.
even begins spying on Tammy, and he even makes a plan to assault her, like sexually, with Carla's help. Karla is also okay with this because she wants to present Tammy as herself because she wasn't hymen positive when they met, but at this
Yeah.
time Tammy is hymen positive, and so she wants to give her to Paul in her place
Like,
for
as a
that.
present.
Yeah.
I will say too, like, uh Carla also helped him spy on his sister, or her sister, sorry. Like, she like bent her blind back, like Tammy's blind back, so Paul could look through the
Oh,
window. And I guess Paul also um like masturbated on Tammy's pillow while she was like sleeping and weird shit like that too during this time.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, July 24th, 1990, is the first time they attempt this on Carla. During the trip, they're going on a summer trip, sorry. And Karla laces her sister's food with a drug called Valium that she had stolen from her work. Which I
Yeah.
don't know. Do you know where she works at this time? Because
She's working at a vet clinic
oh,
'cause
that's
she
what I assumed, but it
mhm,
didn't say that in the article I was reading. It just said that she's getting all
yeah.
these drugs from work. But anyway, she
She
steals.
just
I
yeah.
was like, the pet store must have Valium. She steals Valium, puts it in Tammy's food. Tammy wakes up way too quickly though, and Paul wasn't able to assault her. And then they kind of put the plan off for a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
and then
November 1990, detectives finally get around to the tips concerning Paul, and they show up at his house taking blood, saliva, and hair samples. These samples would just sit around for the next 2 years and don't get tested.
yeah, cause he what is it called? He agreed to give up his DNA. Like, he
Right?
was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you can have it." Like, he didn't even, like, put up a fight or anything. They were like, "Well, he must not have anything to hide,"
Which
shit
is
like that.
crazy. It feels like
It's
he
insane,
he
though,
gets off on people knowing it's
thinking
him
that he's
and
safe,
not giving a
kinda.
shit. It's just so
Yeah.
weird.
Also, because you're gonna talk about the halothane that she also steals
Yeah.
that from the vet office, and just so
Yeah,
everyone
that's what I
knows,
figured.
that's like the drug that Jeffrey Dahmer used too to
Mm.
knock his, victims out.
Gotcha. December 23rd. So, how many days is this? Oh, it's a month. A month after he gets visited by the police and they take his samples, um, Carla promises Paul he will get Tammy for Christmas. And after
But that's
Christmas,
disgusting,
yeah, it's
though. It's
awful.
so bad.
After Christmas dinner, Paul, Carla, and Tammy get together, and they're at the Homolka's family home, by the way, with Tammy's parents there and everything. Tammy and
Yeah,
Carla's
they're
parents.
upstairs while they're in the
Um,
basement, so they're
yeah,
sleeping upstairs while
they
all
go
this is
down,
happening.
they start hanging out, having drinks. Carla laces Tammy's drink with sleeping pills, and then once she falls asleep, they undress her. Paul assaults her. Carla holds a rag with halothane over her nose to keep her asleep.
Mhm.
Eventually, Tammy starts to vomit and stops breathing. Paul and Carla can't revive her, so they dress her back up and they put her back in her bed, and then they call 911.
Yeah, they've
Um,
dumped all the drugs out. They got rid of all the
yeah.
evidence before.
Now, the halothane has caused chemical burns to
That
Tammy's
ugh,
face.
it pisses me off.
This apparently goes. I mean, it didn't go unnoticed, but they still rule it as an accident.
Yeah, well, cause they asked them about it and
Yeah.
they were like, "Oh, we were dragging her around." I don't know, like, I did see a photo of it and I wasn't trying to when I was researching this
Oh,
whole
really?
thing. Yeah, and it's all red.
I
Like,
did not see a picture of it, but
there's no way that you can tell me that that is not like, it didn't look like any freaking carpet burns or anything like that. Like,
yeah.
it was like someone was putting it up to her face
It
constantly.
seems so crazy that Paul is already on the police's radar, but these things just keep happening, and they just like, oh well, can't be Paul.
Yeah, I know. They, like, have literally decided just to be Helen Keller at this point,
Yeah.
I feel. Like, there's no way.
Um. Yeah, her death's ruled an accident. At the funeral, Paul is caught stroking Tammy's hair, and they even leave photos of themselves in Tammy's casket, which is also even more fucked up.
Yeah, I guess, I know everyone grieves in a certain way, and I'd be like, "Oh, it couldn't possibly be," but I guess he was being especially super dramatic, like,
Yeah.
not dramatic, but, like, over the top when they told him that she passed away, and also, at the funeral, he was like, "I'm the one that gave her an alcohol I'm the one that gave her alcohol, it's all my fault." So it was kind of like a hush hush thing because he's like, "I'm gonna get in trouble," and everyone really liked Paul for some reason, so they really didn't even, like, investigate what
Right.
happened?
After the funeral, things get even more fucked up when Paul and
Would
Carla
you believe
move.
it?
Yeah, it doesn't stop here. Paul and Carla move to Port Doll House, which I'm probably saying that wrong. It's definitely spelled differently than how I just said it. Uh, where they begin filming themselves role playing what happened with Tammy,
Yeah,
with Paul
she was
playing
wearing,
himself
like,
and Carla
her
playing Tammy.
yeah. She was wearing Tammy's clothes
Yeah,
and, like, making her hair like Tammy and talking like
crazy.
Tammy. That's so bad.
Give me 1 second. Excuse this noise. I had to put my mouse
And
in.
also, when we talk about her sister too, Carla graped Tammy too. it was a
Yeah.
sexual assault all around. Like, she was hands on, she was doing stuff to her. Like, I don't want you guys, like, especially when we get to
Yeah.
like the whole trial, she was
Right.
right along with it, you know?
Yep. Um, in June 7th, 1991, this is a year after, well, not quite a year, like 6 months after Carla dies, or Tammy dies, sorry. Carla invites a teenager who is just called Jane Doe because her name wasn't released, who she met at work. That she gets invited over to their house, where Tammy laces her drink with halcyon and told Paul that she had a surprise wedding gift for him. Then they filmed themselves
Disgusting.
assaulting her.
Yeah.
Um, Jane Doe woke up the next day with nausea, but left without realizing what had happened to her.
Yeah, she thought she was, nauseous from drinking.
Yeah. Which, I mean, she is so lucky.
Yep.
Um,
Well, and honestly, she came back 2 more times, like, she didn't even
right,
know what
right, yeah, yeah.
happened. Yeah.
Um, June 15th, 1991, Paul travels to Burlington, where he's stealing license plates for his smuggling business. He meets a 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey. Leslie
Mhm.
is outside because she got locked out of her house for missing curfew,
Yeah,
which,
that's, like, the worst
yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say, if
like,
you're a parent, this should never be a thing you ever do, because
don't be
you're just asking for something bad to happen to your child. Not that I'm assuming that,
well,
that this
oof.
would happen, but
Yeah.
like anything could happen to that child at 14. Like those are just
Yeah,
idiots.
I just think that, like,
She's more of
locking
a
your
danger to
child
herself than a danger
yeah.
from the outside, I would think. But
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
um, crazy. Paul offers her cigarettes and leads her to his car, where he pulls a knife and then blindfolds her. He drives her back to Port Dalhouse, where he tells
Mhm.
Carla they have a playmate. They film themselves
Gross.
assaulting and torturing Leslie. Leslie's blindfold slips off during the assault, and the couple decide that they can't risk it, and they murder Leslie. Um, they choke her to death, by the way. They leave Leslie's
Well,
body in the basement. Sorry, what?
no, I was just gonna say, like, when we get to the trial too, it's either Paul saying Carla, beat
Oh,
her with a
right,
rubber
yeah, yeah,
mallet, or Carla's like, no, Paul, choked her.
yeah. And I guess she did have ligature marks on her neck, so
And I will say that they never filmed themselves actually killing any of these people. They would do all the torture and
yeah,
all like the sexual assaults, but they never filmed. So we don't know really. I mean,
right.
but you're right. We could, use process of elimination. But
And I feel like you can almost always believe what Paul says because he wants everyone to know what he's done. Whereas Tammy
yeah,
is just playing the part to get out of it, which she
she
successfully does in
reads
the
enough
end, but
books and stuff though,
it's
like she knew
ridiculous.
what she was doing. Yeah.
Um so anyway, blindfold slips off, they murder Leslie. They leave her in the basement when they go back. They just like go back to normal life for a little bit, leave the body in the basement. They even have dinner with Carla's parents upstairs when the body's down there. Eventually they dismember her and encase her remains in concrete blocks, and they get thrown into Lake Gibson, which is a lake in the Toronto area, or the Port House area. Um, and then later that month, on June 9th or 29th, 1991, Carla and Paul get married, and it's the same day that the remains of Leslie are found in the lake.
Isn't that some shit
That
though?
is crazy.
Like their day that they're getting married is the day her body was found, and didn't they even watch it at one point too, all
I
together?
don't know.
Okay, but
I can
crazy.
imagine they probably would. That was like that's something
I
that Paul
saw
would
that.
want to
I
see.
think
So
I read that it was on at one point, but who knows?
for real. Um, April 16th, 1992, the couple kidnaps a 15-year-old named Kristen French. Kristen French as she exits her Catholic school. This is like people are around. People witness this. They take her
Yeah, she
back.
was walking home from school.
Yeah, they assault
Like
her. They torture her for 3 days before
she
deciding to murder her.
also I think that they, like, were like, "Hey, we're lost." Like, Carla got out and was like, "We're lost," and then Paul came up behind
That's how
her.
they
It
did
was
it.
like one of those schemes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just crazy that they had witnesses this time, and this isn't the end of it. Um, they assault her, torture her for 3 days. They murder her. Kristen was not blindfolded at all. I think they planned to murder her from the beginning. They forced her to drink large amounts of alcohol during this 3 days. They even forced her to watch the films of the couple assaulting the former people that they had
Yeah.
assaulted and killed. Um, and she was told that she had to be submissive to Paul. Uh, on the third day, Kristen gets confrontational with Paul and tells him he's a bastard, and she's trying to talk Karla into like she's trying to
Letting her go.
yeah, well, like also being like, hey, you're obviously trapped here by Paul, even though she's just as involved. She just didn't realize that
Right.
yet. So Paul gets real upset and ends up beating her to death. They leave the body in the basement just like the last one while they go back to normal life. Eventually, they clean up Kristen's remains. They cut her hair and they dump her in a ditch in Burlington. I don't understand why they cut her hair. Do you know why they cut her hair?
I don't know why they cut her hair,
Super
actually.
weird. Maybe they kept it. I don't know. But they ended up
They
cutting her
could
hair.
have, you know. All
Um,
right, well. Or, like Paul likes to degrade women. I
yeah.
even can
Oh,
see
yeah.
it
You're
being
right.
like a,
You
putting
know,
someone down.
when I was reading this, I thought that they just gave her a trim, but now I'm thinking maybe they just cut all the hair off to humiliate her, like
Oh,
remains.
absolutely.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're those types of people,
I don't know why I was thinking they just gave her like a haircut.
They gave her a nice trim,
Those bangs
put
gotta
in
go,
some
honey.
layers.
1992, in May, Paul gets interviewed by two police officers about Kristen's murder, but is deemed not a suspect after telling them he was interviewed about being the Scarborough rapist. Um,
It was 30 minutes.
yeah,
Like that's how long the interview was.
damn,
And
dude,
he was basically like, why do I need to do that to anyone? Look at me. And they were like, you're right. Like, what? You know? That makes no
Jesus.
sense.
Um, Paul and Carla soon after the interview, they changed their last name to Teal, um, which is there's a movie called Criminal Law that I've not seen,
Hmm.
but
She's
evidently,
obsessed with it, right?
yeah, she's obsessed with it, and evidently there's a serial killer in the movie, and his last name is Teal. They switched their name to Teal. These should all be giant red
Um,
flags for someone
I
who's
just want to
already on the
say,
radar.
I mean, it's probably a spoiler alert, but we're gonna get to it, but
Yeah.
she kept that last name
Oh,
today.
she still has that last name?
I mean, I don't know if she's changed like the first one a couple
Yeah.
times, but she still has it.
It's insane. But yeah, so now they're Paul and Carla Teal. Um, and later that year in December, Paul ends up beating Carla with a flashlight and leaves her
Mhm.
with bruises and broken ribs and two black eyes.
Yes.
Carla claims that she was in a car accident at work, and her coworkers don't buy it. They don't believe her at all, and they end up informing Carla's parents, who a couple days later, on January 4th, forced her to go to the hospital for her injuries. At this point, she changes her story that she was beat up by Paul, actually, and she even decides to go ahead and file charges against him. Um,
So a couple things happen when this situation is made where she starts playing like a battered wife syndrome.
right,
She starts reading books about spouse abuse, and also she starts kind of put paving the path where she goes to trial, and then she starts saying that she can't remember anything because she has
yeah,
amnesia because of PTSD. So this is really like a pivotal point where she turns into that
right.
person that like is now the victim.
And it's at this point that the police decide to finally go through the DNA evidence that was collected from Paul in the Scarborough rapist case. That the evidence that was collected 2 years prior for the sexual assaults that had happened 3 years prior. They
Doesn't
just
that
now
piss
decide
you off?
to
It
run the
pisses me
evidence.
off. Like, if you had to
It's
question anyone, just
crazy.
run the DNA test. You know what I mean? Doesn't even matter if it
Like,
was your
why
cousin,
even
your
collect it? I
mom,
guess
just
I
do
know
it.
that it takes
Yeah.
time and money, but if you're gonna collect it, why not just go through the trouble and assessing it? Maybe it takes that
'Cause
much long. I don't know, but
I don't
it's crazy. They
know.
decided to do it now. Carla moves to Brampton with her aunt and uncle, where she reveals everything Paul had done. Um, and then a month later, in February, Carla seeks full immunity from prosecution in exchange for cooperating. This plea deal was denied, and she was instead told that she had a week to accept a 12-year prison sentence or be tried for the three murders, like Paul was about to be.
Oh,
Um,
also too, when they were questioning her at one point, they noticed Karla had a Mickey Mouse watch that looked like the one that Kristen French wore. She said it was her sister's and it was all circumstantial, but
Oh,
that was happening too. Like, that was just like
yeah,
a
dude.
little weird, like,
Dude, her prints
she's
are all over
guilty.
this
Come
too.
on. Yeah,
It's insane that she got any kind of deal. But she ends up taking the 12 years.
Yes. But that was, yeah,
And she testifies against Paul in court.
they did.
Paul Bernardo, or I guess Paul Teal at the time, is sentenced to life without parole, and he's still in prison to this day. This was 1995 when he was sentenced, by the way. The trial lasted for like 2 years.
I wanna say too, like, when they gave Karla the deal, they didn't know about the tapes. Honestly,
Oh, I
the
didn't know
defense
that.
team yeah, the defense team for Paul, they spent 71 days trying to look for this tapes because Carla was like, "There's tapes, we did film it," and they were like, "Okay, well, we need those, but we also need to know what you did on the tapes." She did admit that Paul would make her abuse the women, but she never went into detail about how bad it was or that she did it to her own sister. So, but then the defense team found it first because Paul drew it on a map. So when the defense team watched it, they were gonna play it in court in front of Carla and kind of prove that she was not innocent. But that fucked up everything because they already like, made a deal with her and the lawyer ended up getting switched out because he was keeping like physical evidence against the court. Like you can't do that. So he held on to these tapes for 15 months too. So it was just like a
Yeah, I
huge
did remember seeing something about the
like,
tapes and some bullshit about it, them trying to hide the tapes.
yeah, and, like, to also put it in perspective how fucking insane it is, Carla only got, like, 5 years for, the 2 women and then
Yeah,
only 2 years for her sister. Like, oh my god, what d d d I
that
don't
is
even have
insane. Yeah.
words, like, I it's just
The
disgusting,
system
honestly.
did them dirty. Well, I guess did other people dirty.
So
Uh,
bad.
in 2005, 12 years. Was that 12 years? Did she get the full sentence?
She did, but I feel like she got out early. Oh, she could
Yeah.
apply for parole in 2
And
years,
say I thought she did get out early,
and
but
I
she got out in
think she did get
2005.
out.
Um,
Oh, 5?
yeah, 2005 when she did get released, which
Oh my god.
I guess
They
that is
said that
12 years.
they had
So
to compromise because they didn't have a case against Paul. Like, it's all just a bunch of bullshit,
yeah,
honestly. And also, when they were like, "Hey, this is fucked up," like in the future with, how much Carla didn't get. Like, she didn't get enough time,
yeah,
And
for real. She should have got the
the
exact same thing that Paul did.
yeah, the judge looked over at it because they also found Jane Doe and they were gonna see if Jane Doe could testify. This was like a whole thing at
Yeah,
one point. Um, He looked at it, but he said that they wanted to stay true to their word, so they weren't gonna overturn anything in case anybody in the future was gonna, have like a similar situation. So completely was like, no, we keep to our word, so we're not gonna like look into that. Then I guess there was an article that came out where she said that no one even ever spoke to her and like she didn't agree with the verdict that Carla got. And she thinks it's disgusting that Carla has a better education in jail than she ever will, and she had to pay for it with her tax dollars. And also, Carla got a psychology degree. Like,
yeah.
I'm
Like,
sorry, I just had to rant a little bit, but my
I'm
God, are you fucking kidding me?
all about people being rehabilitated when they're like a sick person.
I think
But
she did. Did she? I think she may have went for all 12 years because she got
yeah,
out at
it sounds like it. Yeah,
36. Okay.
yeah. Um, like I'm all about people getting rehabilitated. Like if you murder somebody, you go to prison for I don't know. I think life term is like 25 years or something. But if you do the whole sentence and you come out and you're like, yeah, that was a different person then. Like good for you. Well, you still did it, but you served the time. Carla only got 12 years. She should have gotten the exact same thing that Paul did.
They're both
And
psychopaths.
what sucks now is that
There's
not
no
yeah,
rehabilitating that.
not only is Carla have been released in 2005, but she moved to Mexico and she's got 3 kids now and she's married.
Oh, yeah, she has kids. Yeah, how is she supposed
She's
to
just allowed to
explain
have a
those?
happy life.
She had 3 children with the brother of her defense lawyer.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, her name is actually Leanne Borderland now.
Oh yeah. She left the country because she was being like
Quebec, I think, is where she is now.
she was being harassed by the media for obviously not getting the sentence she
Yeah.
should have gotten.
I guess recently too, she tried to chaperone or she tried to do something with the school, and all the parents found out who she was and, like, got real pissed,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
bet, dude.
Like, how is your kids not
I'm
gonna
glad.
find
She should have a
out that
horrible
you,
life.
like, you're fucking gross, you know? Oh, and also too, they did play the tapes in front of everyone, and, like, it was bad, you know, because
Yeah.
they're, like, 3 hours of torture.
Yeah,
They
that's
all had to sit there and watch
dude.
these girls get tortured and her enjoy it, and she's not gonna get in trouble for it. Like, and then they were basically like, "Oh, Paul is a sadistic rapist, but he's not a murderer." So, like, that was, like, the whole thing too, and it's like, they're both gross, lock them away
Right?
forever.
I mean, she lured people into Paul.
Yes.
I mean, even her
Like,
own fucking sister.
yeah, and that's yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, you can yeah, I believe he abused you. I know he probably abused you because he's a piece of shit. But
Right. Yeah,
also,
yeah,
you're a piece of
definitely.
shit too because you did things to I never can imagine, you know, to your own sister nonetheless. Like,
Right.
that's just I'm so
Yeah.
glad we're done with this because it's just so
I
gross.
know. This one sucked.
Yeah. It's just it's rough. There's
Yeah.
no light way to tell the story. It's not there's nothing great about oh, except for Paul was a rapper. He wanted to be like Vanilla Ice, and there was a whole
Oh,
thing like
no
he wrote his own
way.
raps. You can find his raps. Like he thought he was going to be the next Vanilla Ice,
I
and
wonder if
they're
that's copyrighted.
bad.
Probably now, but
He's like, "I have a whole book of just rhymes." Like, oh my gosh.
cash money. Got cash in my hands. You want some cash? You gotta go to the bank. Tell me, mom.
It's not dun da da dun da da dun dun. It's dun da da dun da da dun dun. Or what? Have you ever heard that or what?
Uh, God damn it.
So funny.
Well, anyway, that's the story of
Oh wait,
Paul. Oh, sorry. Is there more? What?
no, there's not anymore. But we
Oh,
need to spin the wheel because
right.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
forget.
yeah. That's the story. Paul
D-
Bernardo, Karla Homolka. If you know Karla Homolka, she's a piece of shit. Don't trust her.
Yeah, don't go anywhere with her.
She is a snake.
She's in Quebec, speaking French.
Doubt it. She seems
Well,
stupid.
she left in a
Uh,
red minivan. I don't even think that's probably relevant anymore. But watch out for
Wait, she
minivans
left in a red minivan when she
when
left
she got
prison
out of jail. Yeah,
in 2005?
yeah. It was 2000.
That was almost 20 years ago. Isn't
No,
that
yeah, it was
crazy?
2005.
Ain't time
I
a
can't believe
bitch?
we were in 5th grade.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right, spin this bitch.
It better not be one of my topics because I just can't handle it anymore.
And what's funny is I added more than you did. I don't think we've got
I
one of mine
know,
yet.
and they're
There it
like,
goes. There it goes. That's one of mine. That's one of mine. The Man from
okay.
Tared. You know what that is?
No, but I'm
Okay.
excited.
It involves time travel or dimensional travel
Oh, I
or
love
something
all of
like
that.
that. It's a mystery. Man from Tared. All right, cool,
I love
awesome.
I'm about to Nancy Drew the shit out of this.
Fuck yeah, be one of them Hardy Boys. The top rope.
I'm so glad I was right. I was gonna
That's
be
so
so
funny.
upset.
No, I knew you were right, and it's funny
I was
as when
like
I read that, I didn't even consider the fact that there was wrestlers called the Hardy Boys, but I'm glad that you knew the reference.
I was like, "Wait, oh, Ed Hardy, way different."
Who would have thought the Hardy Boys would be involved
He's
with
a
such a
3rd
heinous
brother that
story?
they don't talk about, you know?
Paul Hardy.
Oh my gosh. Well, I had fun. It was good
Yep.
seeing you.
You have a good week. Thanks for watching.
Yeah,
We'll be
thanks,
back.
guys.
Are you busy Sunday? Are we doing this Sunday?
We're doing this Sunday, and yeah, we're doing this Sunday, and
All right.
hopefully your story's a little less gross.
This story, not gross at all. It's
Love
just a
that.
little confusing. Like,
We
who
need a good
is
palate
this guy?
cleanser.
He's confused. We're confused. Where'd he go? We don't
I'm
know.
I'm always confused, man.
Yeah, that's my life. Anyway, thanks for watching. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
We're not superstitious. We're just a little stitious. You have a good week. Bye.
Bye.